Hey guys.
Welcome to Prepper Talk Radio. We're listening live with our hosts, Paris, Scott, and Shane. Thanks for being on with us live. Looks like we've already got several people that are ready to go. Hit the like button. Remember to hit the like button so the algorithm shoots it out and lets everybody know this is a good live to listen to. And we're going to talk today about some first aid and different scenarios, running first aid kits, first aid scenarios. And so hopefully you've got some first aid ideas that you can share with us as you make some comments. The other thing too, just want to make sure that everybody remembers that we have a website to go, preppertalkradio.com. Check that out. Tons of great resources. And if you go to that website, preppertalkradio.com, and scroll down, you'll see where you can join the different communities we are. You can see where you can join us on Instagram, Facebook, on TikTok, and anything else that we have out there. We're trying to be on as accessible as possible. We still have the Jase Medical case giveaway we're looking forward to once we hit 1,000 subscribers. So share with your friends to subscribe. We're starting to, we also have the 5-ounce silver bar that is, depending on the day, is increasing in value on a regular basis. So that's really good news. And make sure you go to our website, our YouTube channel, because on our YouTube channel, we're trying to do more reviews of gear. We're also doing interviews as like bonus content. So I think we're trying to bring some really good value to you. Also, support the show by going to amazon.com/shop/preppertalkradio. And you'll see my bag, Shane's bag, Scott's bag, and some of the other gear that we have that we highly recommend after hours and hours, right, Shane, and Scott, of research to make sure that we found the best thing for us and our families. And so you'll see what we have, what we've chosen on that Amazon store list that's there. So without further ado, get all that stuff out of the way. Let's talk first aid. This was Shane's idea to talk first aid, and I think it's a fantastic idea. And I know he's got a ton of things to say and share. So let's see what he has to bring to the table.
There we go. Take the mic off mute. Yeah, absolutely. I think we've talked about the last several shows more concepts and such. I figured this time let's talk about some really solid techniques and products and kits and things that we can do right now, and not just contemplate about, but things that are proven and that can make an immediate effect in our lives right now. And for me, the first thing that came to my mind, of course, is first aid. I went through the EMT program many years ago. So that was my, I guess, baptism by fire into this world. Just a quick example. And I know you guys have both heard this story. When I was a teenager, came across a car wreck after a day of climbing, and the people were pretty badly hurt, but I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. You could call me myself in shock for what I saw there. And so at that moment, I decided I'm going to do something about this. I don't like being ignorant and being helpless, not just helpless for myself, but not being able to help others. So I kind of dove in shortly thereafter, and it's been a pretty significant part of my life ever since. But, I've been kind of the prepared guy my entire life as well. So it makes perfect sense. So whenever I look at topics like this, I try and answer a bunch of questions: the who, what, when, where, why, how, right? That's my process. Yep. And so the first part is, what types of kits, first aid kits, do I need? Should I be building? And I know you guys have plenty to chime in here too, so I want to talk the whole time, but I'll kick it off just by saying, first of all, I'm going to show you my first go-to bag. This is my home kit. Call it my doctor's bag, right? And then my wife says, I'm the doctor around here, which she is. I give her full credit. She does most of the doctoring, but this is kind of our doctor bag. And I can go through contents if that's the way you want to go, you guys. I know we didn't really plan this out very much, how you want to go through this.
No, that's fantastic. I think we should go through different kits, or at least kit ideas, and then maybe share some things that are in those kits. Like I know one of the first things after food and water, mm-hmm. and a little bit of gear, like a grab and go bag, the first aid kit is probably the most important on the list of things to start. And first, learning first aid is one of the first things. When I took the the community emergency response team, they did go through a bunch of things to do for different natural disasters, but then we spent several days learning different first aid. Like if you get a stab in your arm, what do you do? If you get a blister, what do you do? If you get a cut that's so deep, what do you do? And how do you handle those things? Because if let's say, for example, that we just had this earthquake in Turkey. Let's say that we had this earthquake in Turkey, or let's say there's an earthquake in whatever area you're in, and you come across somebody that's got impaled in their leg, or maybe you come across somebody that's got a broken arm. Do you know how to help them? And first aid is you're not supposed to be a hospital with first aid. First aid is you get them to a place where they're stable enough that once the EMTs or the hospital receives them, they're like, okay, we can save them. Is that right? Am I understanding that right, guys? Like first aid is designed to give you that initial, get them stable to the point where they can be transported, can be taken to somebody who has a lot more knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of aspects of first aid. There's, of course, I think when you're referring to your certification, I think, do they certify you as a first responder? I think that's part of the program, correct? As a first responder. So there's knowing your basic first aid, that kind of steps up to first responder, EMT and then paramedic are well above that. But yeah, absolutely. If you're taking on in that application of a CERT team, a community emergency response team, yes, saving a life is first priority. So part of that, this is not necessarily a life-saving kit. This is for, taking care of the kids, taking care of maybe the little bit larger, more traumatic injuries, whereas we have the boo-boo kit in the pantry, right? The boo-boo kit's in the bathroom, the Band-Aids, those types of things. This is something if something happens, some kid is out in the yard, gets hurt, I can grab this bag and run out and have some supplies. So that's kind of why I have this bag. It doesn't have all the Band-Aids in it, and I can go through that kind of stuff. But like you're saying, Paris, the trauma kit, and I'll grab mine here, right here, is kind of the essential kit that really everybody should have. And as part of a first responder, this should be, part of that kit. And, we can talk about the contents, which are things to address traumas like tourniquets, like trauma bandages, and those types of large splints and those types of large things that will save a life. And so I guess, Paris, when you're talking about, okay, the next thing we need to do after water, food, shelter, water, food, and maybe some protection is first aid. I think this is right on the top of the list. Is this type of kit that you have with you all the time. If you go to the range for shooting, you need to have something like this. This is for your vehicle.
Let's talk a little bit more about what's in that kit, though.
In this trauma kit, or you want to go through the house?
Let's go through the trauma kit first.
All right, cool.
We might want to go through the house later, but because I've got first aid kits, I've got trauma kits that I take to the range. I've got travel kits that have kind of a hybrid trauma kit / home kit that I keep in the car. But then we've got our home kits, and then I have things like surgical systems and other stuff that if there is a major collapse, then I work with my neighbors who are doctors. Because what's funny is they don't have those. I'm like, what? I've got surgical systems.
Well, they figure they can just go down to their office and get whatever they need, right?
Right. But if they can't, I've got
They're up a creek.
6 different sets of staple kits, right? Staple sutures. I've just got all kinds of fun stuff, and they're at different places in our house. But it's like we break that out when we know we can't get to the hospital, right? And then we communicate with our neighbors, because I'm the emergency preparedness coordinator for my neighborhood. So when something does go sideways, we break out our radios, communicate what's going on. We go through the door-to-doors. And while we're doing that, we notify the 3 doctors in the neighborhood, hey, you need to start preparing because we're likely to have injuries, and we need you to either be mobile to go help or be a place where we can bring them depending on the situation. Yeah, and they've already been pre-warned and forewarned. So I want to know what you have in your trauma kit. You're a little more advanced than I am.
Well, I think it's important to, at this point, maybe share with people, there's, you go to the Walmart or something and you just grab a first aid kit off the shelf. Right. That's okay. I mean, but you're going to want to have a first aid kit, like we talked about already, a first aid kit for your car. You're going to want to have a first aid kit for your house. You're going to want to have different first aid kits for different things. And that's why it's really important. Welcome to we're getting more people on. This is awesome to have more folks. So trauma kit, like before you show us some of the things that are in your trauma kit, which I want you to do, Shane, can you give us a list of maybe 4 or 5 different kits that you have? Like you have a trauma kit, you have a home kit, do you have a travel kit?
Right. This is part of my
You have a
travel
range?
kit. The trauma kit, it goes in my vehicle. So I've got home, vehicle, EDC, everyday carry, and then kind of a go bag, bug out type kit. So,
And then there's the very
that's
basic
how I
kit,
break
which
it
is
down.
there's my wife has a basic kit in her purse, like
Mhm.
just being a mom. There's the basic kit where you have 15 band-aids of different sizes
Yeah.
for when your kid gets a boo-boo. That's
Exactly.
that's a level of first aid kit. But what we're talking about is have that and then expand from there into these kits, which are a little bit more, you can take care of the business, have gauze, have
Yeah.
bandages, have slings, have tourniquets, have that kind of stuff.
Well, it's awfully nice to have have bandages and stuff for the kids because they cut their finger and they start to cry, and a band-aid is the brand, right? It's a plastic strip, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
It's not a band-aid brand, but something to put over their cut to help comfort them. So that's awfully nice to have. And this bag has those things in a small bag here. I've got some basic bandages, right, for the kids, for the cuts. And if you're working with your hands all day and you've got a cut, it's awfully annoying. Am I going to survive? Yes, I'm going to survive. So I don't absolutely need to have small bandages. For the long term, to keep things from getting infected, absolutely, you need to have these small bandages and some antiseptic ointment, something like that. It makes life so much nicer when you don't have to deal with those types of injuries, especially if you, like I say, you're working with your hands, which in emergency, most likely you are. But the most important, in my opinion, are those things that save lives. And the first things that come to mind, of course, are tourniquets. And there are lots of different tourniquets. My favorite, and I think you guys also like the rats tourniquets, and then there's the SWAT, and there's a bunch of different kinds of tourniquets. Are some better than others? Yes. Some are expensive, some are very inexpensive. They will probably all work, but just make sure you know how to use it and you have quick access to it. That's really the key to a tourniquet, is being able to get to it quickly and know how to use it quickly and efficiently, so that you have very little time when it comes to that type of an injury. So and as well as large trauma dressings.
So really quick, Shane, really
Yes,
quick.
go
A
ahead.
lot of people are scared because over the years we've heard that the tourniquet is kind of the last resort thing to use. What do we know now? What are we hearing now is the best way to?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. We've been educated by rats tourniquets in particular, saying that that is no longer the case. Tourniquets, that used to be, we watch movies and say, well, you've got to release this every 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. That is not the case. That's been proven false. Tourniquet should not be the last ditch effort to save someone's life. It really should be closer to the first. And it does take some knowledge to know, okay, this is bleeding. I can't control the bleeding by direct pressure. This is scary. Let's put a tourniquet on it. And most likely, that's going to stop. If you put it on correctly, it's going to stop the bleeding. And most likely you get that person to the hospital quickly, they're going to be fine. They're going to be able to save that appendage.
Is it true that it's not really the wound that people may die from? It's more the bleeding out of that wound that you'll have more deaths. So if you can stop the bleeding, that's really the big thing. Is pressure, of course, is critical, having pressure on the wound. But if that's not working, you got to stop that bleeding. And a tourniquet is like after putting pressure on, the tourniquet should be the next thing. Of course, if you want to be super tough, you can get a lighter and on your knife, and you can solderize your wound. If you want to be
like Rambo.
Yeah.
Take the blowtorch and just blast.
That brings me to the next thing that could cause a major problem is the afterwards infection, right?
Yeah.
That's why you've got to be able to get the wound clean. But Utah Mike brings up, tourniquet, Israeli bandage, quick
Israeli
clot.
bandage. Yep.
Those are fantastic. And we've got those in our kits as well. But it's like, knowing how much you can do, I think is one of the funniest things is people are like, I can't do anything. Well, wrong. There's a lot you can do. And it doesn't take
Really?
much to learn it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the next thing I had in my kit here, my trauma kit, is some hemostatic, some Celox that stops bleeding quickly. So sure, maybe you try this first before tourniquet. Now, also depends on where the wound is as well, right? If it's on an extremity, obviously a tourniquet's going to work. If it's on the body, obviously a tourniquet's not going to work. So trauma dressings and Celox and other, there's lots of different kinds of brand. This is a particular brand name of a hemostatic granule of kind. And there's lots of different kinds.
If somebody has a wound on their head, do not put the tourniquet on their neck.
No.
Right. Well, the other thing is like knowing when you know how to use this stuff, it makes it easier to use alternatives, right?
To be able to improvise. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. For example, first aid merit badge in Boy Scouts, back when that was a thing, like we really focused on understanding how to do your own tourniquet, how to do your own wound dressings, identifying which of the articles of clothing you have on you or near you, it can be used for those types of things. That's why we loved the handkerchief, right? The kerchief around our neck. That was there more for first aid than anything else. Decoration of first aid.
True. That's true.
So understanding how to use those, Backroads brings up that point as well, like understanding how you can use those things in a medical situation. I love having my Boy Scouts of America handbook with me just because of that. It goes through a lot of the first aid things, how to treat for shock, how to deal with small, like bug bites, snake bites, all the different little things that you're going to encounter usually in a wilderness scenario. But it doesn't talk about things like, okay, there's an active shooter, someone near you got shot. What do you do? Well, we have people in our network that can teach you that, right? There's better ways than just hopping on YouTube. And so it's like learn and absorb all the information you can on first aid so that you know how to respond.
And this is meant for like a single person. This is a personal first aid kit is really what this is meant for. Obviously you render first aid to an individual person. So obviously I've got 5 kids. I need a lot more than just this. But obviously to have this with you at all times, it could save a life. So that is my first recommendation is get something like this, build it yourself. When you go and purchase something like this, this is going to be kind of expensive, 70, 80, 90, 100, $150 for some type of trauma kit like this. If you buy it as is, you are paying a lot for the bag itself.
Yep.
But the bag, is pretty essential. I mean, for me just to be able to grab this and go, that's pretty important, and to hold everything organized and get to it quickly rather just in a bag. So for me, I think having a quality bag, maybe start by buying something like this that's fairly expensive, and then just replace the components as you use them. Yeah. And then you've got a good basis to start with right there.
Was there anything in there that we didn't get to see that you wanted to share?
Just some basic bandages and antiseptic wipes and such. Other than that, nothing really that special. But yes, Israeli bandages. These are fantastic. You can get these on Amazon. I think I've got these on my list on our Amazon store where I get them. It's not like I use them a lot, thank goodness. But I spread them around. I have these in every single bag, especially the Israeli bandage.
And we might be doing a review of one of those Israeli bandages. So stay tuned to the.
Well, and Melissa gives a good point that always have an animal kit. If you've got animals with you, you're traveling with animals, they're in your home, like have something with you because that's gonna emotionally kill you if you could have prevented something for your pet, for your furry baby, whatever, and you didn't. And it's basically the same type of stuff you're going to get for a human, but it's a little bit different, right? It's going to cost less, most likely. There's going to be some pretty good build kits that you can get. We were just at PetSmart the other day looking at pet stuff, and they actually had some first aid stuff there. It was not robust. It was like little essential stuff. But it's like knowing the same stuff for first aid, how to stop a bleed, how to administer some first aid to an animal. Like go learn that stuff if you have an animal so you can keep them alive, keep them protected as well.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
A good idea.
Especially if you take your dogs with you in your vehicles. Ours mostly stay at home, so we've got what we need here. But to have that with you wherever you go is can be difficult to remember sometimes. So this being my home doctor bag, I'll just show you what I have in this real quick. Part of going through the EMT course is learning how to use, BP cuff and a stethoscope, or a sphygmomanometer if you want to get technical. So this was really fun to learn how to use this. It obviously nowadays you can get the BP cuff, the automatic ones, and we've got one of those here to do on yourself if you're by yourself. So we have the automatic BP cuffs, and that's obviously for very specific needs. Obviously, when my wife was pregnant, and I'm sure you've got to watch that. You got to watch blood pressure at some point. So so I put this to use quite a bit in my 27 plus years of marriage. As well as going over to check on grandma, right, to see how she's doing as well. And just to also kind of brush up on the skills. So, and these are pretty inexpensive nowadays to get a nice kit like this, get a good quality one. The other one, the digital ones, they're nice. They're pretty accurate. They're accurate enough, in my opinion. So maybe that's a better choice for you, but I do enjoy learning how to use this and then teaching others and showing my kids how it works as well. So that's part of my kit. Is the sphygmomanometer, and let's see what else I've got in here. I've got, like I said, this is kind of the bag. If there's an emergency in the house, grab this and I can run outside. Whatever. I've got cold compress. I've got some burn gel in here as well. I've got butterfly bandages, large roller gauze, stretch wrap bandages for ankles or whatever it might be, large gauze for large injuries, and if it's small injury, we come into the house, we've got a whole stockpile in the cabinet of that kind of stuff. This is so I can easily grab it and go. More wound seal for stopping bleeders, triangular bandages, tape. Let's see what else I got in here. Got more burn gel. Let's see what else I've got in here. I've got an EpiPen. So we have particular need around the house. So we have these all over the place in every bag.
Do you have to have a prescription to get an EpiPen?
You do, but I would think you could kind of like we go through Jase Medical and get our antibiotics. I would think you could get these in an emergency.
You can also get an AviQ, which is another type of an EpiPen.
Oh yeah,
and that's what I carry.
Okay.
So because I've got some pretty severe allergies and some other things that.
AviQ.
They prescribed this to me. I got two for I think it was like $20, so it's pretty cheap. Yeah. But it is a prescription. It's funny how many people who have, especially like bee allergies, who don't have an EpiPen or something to help in those situations. Because if you don't, you're screwed.
Yeah, there's really no other option at that point. Other things in my kit are some medical shears. For cutting clothes, things for removing splinters and
tweezers.
Yeah, tweezers and other moving other foreign objects as well. Something very cool. See, do you know what this is? Anybody know what this is?
Ooh, that's to detect fractures. It's
that's
like a
correct.
Fork, but it's a bone.
Yes.
Break identifier. I can't remember the actual.
I forget what it's called as well. So as part of an EMT program, we're taught to do an assessment of full body assessment for bleeding and breaks and so forth. And there's a word called grading. You can feel or sense a grading if there are broken bones. This identifies them much easier. So what you do, you get it to just like a tuning fork, and then you put it on that bone, and that vibration will go through the bone and identify where the break is very easily, whether it's a wrist. I mean, maybe you're questioning, it hurts, I don't know if it's broken or not. You can do this, and you can, if you have some intense pain, then you can say, okay, yes, it's time to go to the emergency room, or you can make the call. Let's say $500, $1,000. Okay, it hurts, but it doesn't hurt that bad. Okay, let's wait to go to the emergency room instead of make that decision. Well, you know what? Let's just go, because we've done that before. And that's one of the things that prompted me to get this is that, a daughter fell off of a hammock or whatever, and she was holding her arm and like, well, we better go to the hospital. $1,000 later, we could have gone like this and held it to a bone. And if she screamed, okay, let's go. If not, okay, we're gonna call BS on her.
Those
there.
are more accurate than an X-ray. I actually talked to my friend Marie is an X-ray technician. She's like,
Mhm.
those tuning fork break detectors are more accurate than an X-ray, because an X-ray, the technician has to have dialed it in correctly and also has to
Mhm.
interpret it correctly.
And taking it
Whereas
from the correct location
with
direction.
those, they're like, whenever this is down, we just use those, and we should just use
That's
those
crazy.
because it's cheaper. But the
That's
hospital
awesome.
wants to get as much money out of everything as they can, so they
Mhm.
force the X-rays, which is, to me, I'm like, get your own. Oh, there we go. Backroads No Man Lander. Osteobone tuning fork. Thank you. See, he's one of our favorites. He's got a lot of great knowledge.
So if you're going to put that on a place in your body where it's not really close to the bone, I mean, you got a lot of skin or a lot of stuff. How does it work there?
Right. No, you do need to be on a bone pretty close, right? Obviously, if you've got any muscle or fat, it's going to absorb that. But you do need to put it onto a bone fairly near the injury in order for it to actually transmit to the bone. And
so if I broke my femur or something, I might put it on my knee. Or
you broke your femur, you wouldn't need to check, brother.
Yeah, that's a good point. Unless it was cracked a little.
Oh well. Your hip, yeah. If you fall and break your hip or something, crack
That's
your
the
hip.
most painful break in the human body. So if you break your femur, you're gonna know. This is the most excruciating pain of my life. There you go.
So yeah, a few other things. Just got a little pen light in here. Always important to check for difference between eyes. If you get a head injury, kids fall down all the time. Get concussions. I know I did when I was a kid. So checking for equal and opposite reaction of the pupils and such is pretty important. So I keep a good flashlight in there. And then, just a lot of the other basic things in here. Again, this is my kit that I can grab in the house and just run maybe even next door down the street if a neighbor's got an emergency. So that's little cool. Go bag. And then I've got other supplementary bags here. Let me grab this one here. That, basically stay in the nightstand nearby. Of course, that includes the automatic blood pressure cuff. You just put it around the wrist and push start, nice and easy, fairly inexpensive. Something that we use on a regular basis, a pulse oximeter. We've got kind of a cheap one you get down at Walgreens, and they actually work pretty well. We use that on a regular basis when kids have fevers, and but you do need to understand how where blood oxygen is how it affects a person, right? So typically we'll say, well, okay, if your blood oxygen goes below 90 something percent or 80 something percent, that may not necessarily be true. So do some learning on that. I'm not going to get into it because I'm not a doctor. I don't want to teach you guys any bad stuff, false stuff. So, but that is handy to have that information so that again you can make the call. Do we go to the ER? Do we wait it out? And then another.
That's one of the things I picked up. I picked up one of those pulse oximeters because during COVID, there was a lot of people talking about, hey, if your oxygen gets below a certain thing, then you should probably take them to the
right. And then and again, that's kind of why I'm calling BS and don't really want to talk about that much because a lot of that were lies and such. But again, I won't get into that. And then well,
at least it prompted me to get one of those things. So
yes, absolutely.
If nothing else, it was good. It was good for that.
You got it. Absolutely. And then with kids around the house, getting things in their nose and ears and such, it's nice to check. Kids get ear infections on a regular basis. This is again kind of a just to get a preliminary look at something to say, hey, do we go to the doctor? Do we not? To check in eyes and
what
ears.
Is that?
I forget, or I forget what it's called, but it's for looking into eyes and ears. It's got a light.
Backroads would know.
Yeah, backroads. What's this thing called? I'm not prepared with my terms right now. This is not an EMT tool, so that's why I don't know the name of it. Right, we're interested in, and I'm not an EMT anymore. I have not recertified since. So essentially, that's what I've got here is kind of the bedside stuff. A lot of other things we could talk about, but I'm just talking way too much. What do you guys?
Okay, I got to show this comment from Backroads. I'm on the same page with him. We've got a bunch of the stapling kits, and we've got some of the zip strip sutures. It's cleaner, less likely to have an infection from that. Suturing is the most dangerous option. You can go take a class, and you can go learn how to do it. But it is the most dangerous of the three options because if you didn't do it right, there's bigger chance for infection. maybe you didn't do it right, and so there's going to be bleeds as well. Like it's just always go for the simplest, safest solution, and that's why we got the stapling guns. And it's not the same one you'd get at Home Depot. It's definitely completely different. And then the zip strips are even easier to use. You just adhere it and then pull.
Yeah, when it comes to an injury like that, it's not like it's a life-saving injury. You know, it's okay. Let's put a zip strip on it. Let's put a butterfly. Let's put a compression bandage on it, and then get him to the hospital. So someone who with some talent can suture you back up. So a suturing kit is really meant for for SHTF. It's meant for when it hits the fan, and you have no other option, and you need to close the wound for long term. That's what this is for. It's
all right. Backroads hooked us up. Otoscope.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Backroads.
All right, where are we going next with this? Let's see.
Well, let me show this real quick. So let me see if I can move me over. Oh, there we go. I'm gonna get all magical tech here. So I did. I don't know if I've posted this video yet, but I took a $20 first aid challenge, and I built this first aid kit for $20.
Oh, cool.
Now, the reason I did that is because people were like, "Oh, I'm poor. I can't afford a first aid kit." And I'm like, and I always like to tell people build one. But I've got in here, I've got little things like antacids. I've got fingernail clippers, some small scissors, some large scissors, medical grade. I've got tapes. I've got Band-Aids. I've got bandages. I've got a small tourniquet. I've got, I mean, all the little boo-boo Band-Aids for my kids because that's what they love. I'm bleeding. No, you're not. I need a Band-Aid. No, you don't. Okay, fine. Let's just get you calmed down, right? I've even got
exactly
a poncho. I don't know why I grabbed this, but it was like I needed to spend $20, so I was getting more stuff.
Well, an emergency blanket is a good thing to have in a first aid kit, right? Because part of treatment for the injured, and especially those in shock, is to keep them covered, keep them warm, keep their feet elevated, those types of things. So adding some kind of cover does also give some comfort as well.
Yeah. So I built this really with the idea in mind of like, hey, you can do something pretty cheap. You know, you don't have to go buy the $90 kit if you don't have $90, and if you don't know how to use what's in it, don't buy it. Right? Learn how to use what you have, or start small, and then add to it. And you'll find, hey, as I'm learning, maybe I don't need all the things I thought I needed. Like Backroads was saying, know how to do things with what's around you as well. That's one of the things we really push is knowing skills. Mm-hmm. If you know skills, man, you're in a much better position. You know, the skills are going to go a lot farther than the gear, because when the gear runs out, what are you going to do if you have no skills?
My EMT manual, I still have this thing.
There you go.
And it still grosses me out to this day. You know, I'm still, there was one right there. I'm going to put that one down. But
my wife, she was going to go the route of an EMT in college and change directions a little bit, but she loves all that stuff. Anytime there's a medical emergency, she's like, I'm there, I'm going. I'm like, it's the neighbor's house, or it's at your sister's house in the next city over. She's like, I got this. Like, that's what she loves, and she deals with it really well. And she likes to be at the doctor's when they get to the doctor, so she can explain to them what the doctor just said in normal speak. Because the doctor will be like, oh, you have a hemostatic on my stomach, and you're like, what? Oh, you got a boo-boo on your knuckle, your third knuckle on your, doesn't need surgery. Oh, okay. Cool. Right.
You got to pretend like you're smart. But so we had a recent comment in our last interview is, you know what? The one thing that scares me the most is not having a dentist in the apocalypse, right? So we got you covered. We got you covered with that. Over at where did I get this from? I got this from Doom and Bloom. This is the dentist kit, and it focuses on a scary word, extraction. This is terrifying, you guys. Absolutely terrifying. Look at these things. These are extractors. Pull teeth out. Okay, this could serve a whole neighborhood, right? This could serve an entire community. But I got to get somebody to learn how to do this because I'm not doing it.
Well, the other option is you just grab yourself one of these.
A pair of pliers.
A little more knife. You get some pliers. You pull them,
A whole lot
And
of
then once
antibiotics.
all the teeth are gone, you pull all of them. Then you take your more knife or another knife, and you carve yourself a set of teeth, just like they used to do. And you get a little tougher in life that way.
Oh my
And if the
gosh.
smile gets
See,
too dingy,
see, Scott, that's why we get prepared, so we don't have to do that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's why we don't have to go the
Or-
super extreme routes, right?
right?
Or you do what is that guy on Tom Hanks movie? You get the blade of an ice skate and you just
And a rock.
put it in
And
there
a
and
rock.
just knock it out. Oh man.
No, I had a tooth that was infected recently, and I can understand. It would drive you crazy. So that's why we do this, right? So we can, I need to find someone who will take on this skill
Castaway.
and really dig in. Yeah, castaway, and dig in and learn to do the emergency dentist stuff. And I probably will find one in the community that he says, I don't have any tools. Well, there's your tools. Let's do this.
This
So-
I love. Thank you, Melissa, for sharing this. To stop pain and infection, use a clove of garlic or do oil pulling as well. I've been looking into this more and more because I'm just like, we need to know natural healing, natural methods. The power of the garlic is so freaking huge, and people just don't
Herbal medic.
give it enough.
Yeah.
It is incredibly powerful.
Clove oil is also great for numbing tooth pain. It works
there you
great. Clove oil, absolutely.
I watched a video just recently about how somebody this lady was an herbologist, I think, and somebody was having a heart attack, and she took cayenne pepper, and she was able to crush it down, and she put cayenne pepper and were able to get it in their mouth, and they drank it, and the cayenne pepper thinned their blood fast enough that they were able to pull that person out of the heart attack, and they were safe. And I thought, wow. So cayenne pepper, in fact, she was saying, look, if you're on a blood thinner and you don't want to be on blood thinner anymore, just take some cayenne pepper. And if you want to start small, start really small, and then go to the doctor, and the doctor will say, wow, your blood's way too thin. We should reduce your dosage or take you off the dosage. And then you just up your cayenne pepper as you reduce the pharmaceutical. And that's a way better way to have blood thinner.
Yeah, I'm loving the comments coming in. Like,
Fauci's
clove oil,
corpse.
turmeric, grow an herb garden. Like Fauci's 100% right. We all need to. Okay, Fauci's corpse, but we all need to be doing our part to learn these things, but also to be growing our own thing in our sphere or our circle, our ready radius. We need to have the things that we can use right now. The most important part of that radius is what's in your head.
Yeah,
we know and what I can do.
Yeah, so we do talk about using antibiotics in Jase's case, and I think there's a place for that, right? That's the quick emergency type stuff that you really need. But for the long term, definitely we got to go herbal. I mean, because we can grow our own gardens, we can grow our own herbs, and like I say, that's how it's been done for thousands of years. Not with these drugs and medications. For me, that's a very temporary, very short term, in case of emergency to save a life. That's really what that's for. But this is where we got to go.
We need to get Backroads on one of these times and talk more about that. And also we need to get Nicole Pellion back on. Her herbal remedies and tinctures, she's
too big now. She probably wouldn't come on the show. She's too big.
I don't know. I don't know. She's awesome. Yeah. We'll give it a shot. Nicole, if you hear this, if you're seeing this, we want you on the podcast again. Especially now that we're getting way more downloads. Joe Rogan, eat your heart out.
Yeah, we're headed toward it.
We're gonna take over the space.
That would be nice. So another last book I wanted to share with you guys. Look at the thickness of this.
Oh
thing.
yeah, I love that.
Survival medicine. These guys, Doom and Bloom Medical. No affiliation. We don't earn any affiliate fees or anything. These guys know what they're talking about. That's where I got the dental kit. Another thing I also picked up from them.
So Shane, while you're looking for that next book, let me just share that if you see these big old books on here and you're thinking to yourself, man, there's no way I'm going to read a 1,000-page book. You'll read it 10 pages at a time.
How do you need an elephant?
Yeah, to commit 30 minutes every day, or if you committed, let's say, and I did an interview with a gal on women's self-defense on Monday, and she went from 0 to being an instructor in firearms and handgun training. And she says that she trains maybe 8 to 10 hours a month on that. And she did it in less than a year. So if you are going to be a year older in a year from now, anyways, You might as well take 30 minutes to an hour every week and read through some of these things. And maybe you don't read it cover to cover. Maybe you open up the book and you go through the table of contents, and you say, you know what, I want to learn how to do a sling. I want to learn how to set a bone. I want to learn how to, I want to learn to take over when Shane doesn't want to do the dental work. I'll do the dental work. And so you go through the book and you learn that. Whatever it is, just learn a new thing every week or every however so often. And by the time you'll get through it, you'll get through it. And that's, I think, the thing that I wanted to share. And now you were showing, you actually just showed what is that? The maternal baby delivering kit.
This is the birthing kit. So I have 4 daughters. So,
and 1 grandbaby
and 1 granddaughter at the point. And fortunately, we did not have to use the kit, but hey, that's why I got this thing. It is good for probably many grandchildren from now. It's not going to expire. The content's in here.
Yeah.
And this is very complete. Obviously you can see this huge bag. This is a very complete kit. And
so we've got
these
kit
kits
just below that. Basically we've got 27 obstetric kits.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
My wife was like, we need as many of these as we can. And I'm like, the apocalypse isn't tomorrow. She's like, we need them now just in case. I'm like, okay.
Did you get those from John?
So we've had those. Yeah, we've had those for a while.
Survival.
We have the bigger. Well, we didn't get them from John, but we got them. We got a bigger one. But yeah, they're in our bug out, like our trailer kit. If we need to relocate to one of our bug out locations, we've got all of our bins staged and stored in places where we can just quickly move them into there, hook up the trailer, and go to that location. The location has some stuff as well, but like we can go there and regroup with all of our people. And hopefully, start rebuilding society. But you've got to know how to use them too. So I'm like, I told my wife, I'm like, you have to learn how to use these. She's like, cool, on it. Because I'm like, I'm not going to be the guy that does that. That's not in my wheelhouse. I will build shelters all day long. I will build fortifications. I will be on security detail. I will work to get clean water and regrow a garden and set up, all the different systems. Like, my brain is engineering and solution driving. I'm not the first aid guy in my group, but I do know basic first aid, like basic. And I think I need to learn a lot more. But as far as like, I grew up, my dad's a general contractor. So I grew up doing all the construction stuff, roofing, windows, doors, framing, concrete, like foundations, footings. Like I've done all that.
So you've hurt yourself, and you appreciate the need for bandages and first aid.
And so, like, the other part of it is like, okay, if I don't practice those things, that knowledge diminishes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right.
It does.
So it's like mixing concrete. I don't remember the recipe now. Creating my own concrete type mixes. That's a gap I've got to refill.
Okay,
but it's like same thing with first aid. My wife's more of the first aid person, but if we lose my wife, I'm like, I've got to fill that gap too.
So quick quiz. Who knows the current training for CPR? Who knows the current method for CPR? It has changed
no longer
in the past
doing the
several
mouth
years.
to mouth. Your own, unless you're trained, you can. However, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and anyone else out there, all you're doing is compressions to the beat of staying alive until help comes.
Yeah, compressions only. Yep. Because that's more important is getting oxygen.
The heart.
Keeping the heart pumping. If you do know how to do the full thing and you've been trained, I would highly recommend getting CPR shields.
Yeah, cover the mouth before
you're not
you put
getting
the mouth
any
on
of anything they're coughing up or blood, or you never know what a person has anymore, so you don't want that in your mouth.
Yeah,
that's part of the reason they don't want you doing the mouth to mouth anymore, is because you've got to have the right tools. And most EMTs don't even do mouth to mouth. They come over with whatever that machine is, and they just put it over your face and start squeezing.
Kind of a respirator. But hey, if you guys here on the watching this live, if you could click that like button, if I can speak here, just push us out through the algorithm. We want to see what that's really going to do for our reach. Would appreciate it.
Yeah, I like what this is
Parrish, you there?
I really like what David says here about the Walmart. They change out their camping gear. So that's a good thing to do. That's a good thing to know, is if they're on sale right now, that's a good opportunity to go pick up some of these items for a deal. You're going to get a little higher quality than the dollar store, but you're going to get it for, I've actually done a lot of comparisons with Walmart and even on Amazon, and you can get, Walmart sometimes beats what Amazon has to offer.
They
So-
do. And if you want to make some money, when you see those deals, you can also do this at Home Depot and Lowe's as well. They'll have like crazy liquidation deals on like tools. You go buy a bunch of those, and then you turn around and you sell them on Amazon, fulfilled by Amazon, ship them over there.
Make a few
And
bucks.
I have friends that make a full living doing that.
That's
And
awesome.
it's funny. Like you can do a ton of stuff with that. So buy more than you need, and then turn around and sell. Hey guys, I've got some kits or this to your friends at the
Mhm.
retail price, and everyone will be happy.
Or keep them
Yeah.
as barter items in the future as well.
There you go.
All right. Well, we're at 48 minutes. What do you guys want to do?
Are we, one of the things that I think is important to do is practice these skills. And so get together with somebody in your community who wants to learn first aid as well, and maybe take a first aid class together. I know that there's several first aid classes here locally in our county. There's a guy that does this. He runs a survival shop, and he does first aid classes. He does CPR classes. Take the time to do it and then refresh it on the regular basis. Don't just take one CPR class and think you got it, because like Shane was talking about, it changes. One year the science is this, the next year the science is that. To be honest with you, you're probably going to be okay if you had the CPR class 5 years ago and you just do that. You're still going to be okay, because it's still going to save a life. But learn how to, if some of the most common things that people have or come across, think about that first of all. So what are the most common things you're going to find is someone who is choking. So do you know how to do the one? First of all, do you know how to do the Heimlich? Second of all, they have these great kits that we're going to put on our Amazon store. They have these great kits. I know, Scott, you were mentioning that you actually even had one. I don't know if you have it close enough to grab, but they have these kits where you literally suction the face to get the thing out. If you don't want to do the Heimlich, or if it's not working well,
it's more effective than the Heimlich. Each kit comes with 3 uses, 3 mouth guard systems that they use. It's more effective, it's faster, and safer. And the thing is if you use it and you tell your story, if I remember right, they'll give you a free replacement.
That's so cool.
But like I watched a video just the other day. This guy, his wife's choking in the kitchen, his daughter's freaking out, and he just like walks over to the fridge, grabs it off the top of the fridge, pulls it out of the bag, plops the mouth protector on it, grabs his wife, shoves it on her face, and goes, squeeze it like 4 times, and she's alive. And he was like calm the whole time. I'm like, that's how you do it.
That's
Daughter's
awesome.
hysterical, freaking out. She can't help anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Stay calm, stay collected. But we've got one in the car. It's in the back seat of the passenger side, and then we have one right by the fridge. So because where they're eating is in the family room, the dining room, or the kitchen, that's most likely where they're going to be choking. So we kept it there, so it's easy to get to, and the kids can reach it in case of emergency.
Yep. I think another real common thing is stepping on a nail or getting impaled somehow. I remember as a kid, it was so funny. And I mean, looking back, it was funny at the time. It was freak out city. But you remember those sandwich poker things that you put in a sandwich to keep the sandwich together? So my brother and I were playing sword fights with those, because they have the ones that look like swords. And so my brother and I were playing swords in the kitchen, and something happened where he went and made a move and did something else and came around and swung his arm right into it. And literally the thing was right through his forearm. And my mom was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my gosh, I just killed my brother, whatever. I just, stabbed him. And so the key thing there is in terms of first aid, often when you have an impaling like that, especially if you're in an area where you can get to the hospital quickly, you don't pull it out. You leave it there, wrap the bandages around it to keep it stable and secure, and then go to the hospital and then pull it, let the doctors pull it out, because you don't know, but that you stabbed through an artery or a vein. And if you pull that, and that thing is blocking blood from coming. And we shared earlier in the show that people don't necessarily die from the wound itself as much as more as they would die from the bleeding out from that wound. So stopping the bleeding is critical. And if you've been impaled by something and it's not really bleeding that much, if you can wrap around it and then transport the person with the thing still there. I don't know if you've seen these shows like there's the TV shows that they have about hospitals and ERs. There's people that go in there with the thing impaled in their chest or their head or their legs still there, and they're sitting and they're in the room, the emergency room. That's kind of how you're supposed to do it.
Yep. They actually had one of the episodes. The guy, they roll the guy in, and he's got rebar sticking from one side of him through out the other side, and his arm's up here because it's gone through his arm too. And he's like, my friend went to pull it, and I told him, no, I've seen this show. It's like, yeah, thank you. Like, he's telling people, like, yeah, there's so many times somebody wants to be a hero, and the truth is educate yourself, learn so that you can prevent the accidents that you could cause by not knowing what to do in those emergency situations. So it goes back to read your first aid guides, sign up for classes. Same thing with your ham radio or your radio operators, like, or your basic shelter building. Like, if there's a place that you lack knowledge and skill, get into a course. There are courses. If you go to shield-safety.com and you live in Utah or surrounding areas, you can request a course there. If you go to Refuge Medical, they've got some amazing training they do, refugetraining.com. They've got one coming up in Idaho, or actually 6 coming up in Idaho, Boise, Idaho. They've got a bunch in Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Tennessee, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and Alabama coming up. Like, go get good training. Even if you only retain like 15% of it, you're way beyond where you are right now.
And you just add to that. You go back to the courses, or go back, you 15% this class and 15% that class, and maybe you now have 25, 30%. Backroads nailed it. Plan, train, prepare, defend. Love it. And it's a little selfish, a little shameless self-promotion here. Thank you, Backroads. We agree with you. These broadcasts are really good, straightforward information, no fluff, no BS. The internet needs more of this. Yes, we agree. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you guys for being with us for the hour. We really appreciate you taking the time. Anything you guys want to say last minute, Scott, Shane, anything you want to add, or
all I'm
ready to go?
Say is if you want to help promote the show, share it. If you want to help support the show, go to our website. If you want to look at any of the books that we talked about in any of our past episodes, as well as today, they're linked on the show. We have an affiliate link there. We make 20 cents off of a book. It would help, right? It'll help keep the lights on, keep the website up, and keep us podcasting. Actually, it won't help keep us podcasting because we're going to just keep doing that out of pocket anyways, but it would help. So we appreciate that. But the most important thing is if you don't share anything, or you don't, like and do it, all that, at least learn something today.
Yeah.
And I would say, I agree, look for opportunities. If you're not looking for opportunities, create opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Why did outdoors
sharp knives?
Give friends sharp knives and wait for the opportunity to shine.
That's because you never know. They're gonna do something dumb soon enough.
That's
and
right.
You'll be there ready to go.
That's right. That's what it's about.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's horrible.
Well, you've been listening to Prepper Talk Radio for the ready-minded. Yeah, where we focusing on God, family, and country. We hope that you got something positive out of this podcast. We hope to do more of them, and we're going to keep going. And as long as you guys keep listening, we'll keep talking. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week or on the next episode. Take care.
See you guys. Thanks for coming.